She confused a millionaire with her online ex and fell for him before the truth. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us go back to our main character. The soft hum of conversation fills the restaurant, blending with the gentle clink of silverware against porcelain plates. Warm light hangs low from the ceiling, turning every table into something that looks almost cinematic, like a scene meant for someone else's life. This is the kind of place where confidence walks in before you do, and everyone seems to belong, except her. She pauses just outside the glass door, catching her reflection for a split second. The dress she is wearing was bought second-hand, altered twice, and still feels slightly wrong. Her heels are scuffed at the edges. Her hands tighten around her phone, the screen glowing with a single message she has already read 3 times. Table 7. He will be at table 7. She exhales slowly. She promised herself she would not back out this time. Inside, the hostess smiles and gestures her forward. The smell of fresh bread and wine wraps around her as she walks in, her heartbeat growing louder with every step. She scans the room, counting tables under her breath, trying not to look as nervous as she feels. Table 5, table 6. Then she sees him, a man sitting alone near the back, jacket draped neatly over the chair, posture relaxed but alert. His hair is dark, neatly styled, his attention focused on the phone in his hand. He looks up briefly, just long enough for their eyes to meet. This has to be him. She straightens her shoulders, forces a smile, and walks over before she can change her mind. "Hi," she says, her voice a little breathless. "You must be Daniel. I am sorry I am a little late." The man blinks. There is a pause. Not an awkward one yet, just long enough for him to register what she said, and for something unreadable to flicker across his expression. "Yes," he says finally. "That is me." Relief washes over her face. She laughs softly, already sliding into the chair across from him. "I was worried I had the wrong table," she admits. "Blind dates are always strange, right? My friend said you might be a little quiet, so she told me not to panic if I had to do most of the talking." He watches her carefully, his fingers tightening slightly around his phone before he sets it face down on the table. "They are definitely something," he says. She smiles, missing the way his eyes linger on her for just a moment longer than necessary, as if he is deciding something. Outside this restaurant, his life is measured in stock prices, private flights, and boardroom negotiations. Inside, for reasons he does not fully understand yet, he lets the moment stand. A waiter appears, pouring water into their glasses. She thanks him politely, then looks back at the man across from her. "I am glad you agreed to meet," she says. "I almost canceled. Work has been crazy." "What do you do?" he asks. "I am a waitress," she answers honestly, fingers tracing the rim of her glass. "Not very glamorous, but it pays most of the bills. I want to open my own little art studio someday. That is the dream, anyway." His eyebrows lift slightly. "Art?" She nods, a spark lighting up her face. "Sketching, mostly. It keeps me sane." He smiles then. A real one, the kind that surprises even himself. "That sounds important," he says. "Dreams usually are." "Right." She hesitates, then asks, "What about you? What do you do?" There it is. The moment where the truth could step in. He considers it just for a second. "I work in technology," he says instead. "Nothing exciting." She laughs. "That is exciting to me. I can barely figure out my phone." Their conversation begins to flow, easy and unforced. She talks about late shifts and burnt coffee, about sketching strangers on napkins during her breaks. He listens, really listens, finding himself drawn to her openness in a way that feels unfamiliar. For the first time in a long while, no one is trying to impress him. No one is asking for anything. And all of it started with one small mistake. Neither of them knows it yet. But by the end of this night, nothing will feel quite the same again. The conversation at the table continues, but for her, the restaurant slowly fades into the background. She nods and smiles at the right moments, yet her thoughts drift somewhere else, pulled back into the quiet weight of her own life. This dinner is supposed to be simple, just a meeting, just a chance to finally move on from something that ended months ago but never quite stopped echoing. When she laughs, it is light, practiced. When she speaks, it is careful. She tells him about her work, but only the safe parts. Long hours on her feet, customers who barely look up, the way she knows exactly which tables tip well and which ones never do. She does not mention the nights she counts singles on her kitchen table, lining them up just to make sure rent will clear. She does not talk about the second job she almost took, but could not manage on top of everything else. "What about your day?" he asks. She shrugs. "It was busy." That is normal, but busy is not the full truth. Earlier that morning, her landlord had left another voicemail. Polite, firm. Rent was due. No more extensions. She had listened to it twice, standing in the break room at work, pretending to check her phone while the noise of clattering dishes filled the air around her. Across from her now, he watches her more closely than she realizes. He notices how she pauses before answering certain questions, how her smile softens when she talks about drawing, then tightens again when the conversation drifts toward money or plans. "So you really want to open an art studio?" he asks. "Someday," she says quickly, then adds, "Not anything fancy, just a small space, somewhere people can walk in and feel comfortable." She does not say that she has already looked at listings online, knowing she cannot afford a single one. She does not say that her sketchbook is filled with designs for a place that exists only in her head. For him, the word someday lands heavier than it should. His life is built on certainty, on decisions backed by numbers, contracts, guarantees. Someday is a word people like him rarely get to use. Everything in his world has a timeline, a deadline, and yet, here she is, holding on to a dream with nothing but hope and stubborn belief. The waiter returns to take their order. She glances at the menu, eyes instinctively drawn to the prices. Her finger stops just short of the least expensive option. He notices. "Order whatever you want," he says gently. "This one is on me." She hesitates. "Just for a second. That is kind of you," she says, "but we can split it." He smiles. "I insist." She nods, choosing something modest anyway, habit guiding her more than hunger. When the waiter leaves, an awkward silence settles between them, brief but real. "I am glad I came tonight," she admits suddenly. "I almost did not." "Why?" he asks. She looks down at her hands. "I guess I was tired of being disappointed." The honesty surprises them both. He does not push. He does not ask who disappointed her, or how. He simply lets the words exist between them, unjudged. Outside the restaurant, rain begins to fall, tapping softly against the windows. The city moves on as it always does, unaware of the quiet shift happening at table 7. For her, this night is not about romance. Not yet. It is about being seen, even briefly, without expectations attached. For him, it is something far more dangerous, because sitting across from her, listening to her talk about dreams she cannot afford and burdens she carries alone, he realizes something unsettling. She is not impressed by him. She is not trying to be, and for the first time in years, that makes him feel strangely at ease. Neither of them says it out loud, but both feel it. This is not just a date. It is a crossing point, a moment where two very different lives brush against each other, unaware of how deeply they are about to intertwine, and all of it is balanced on a single truth that has not yet been spoken. Dinner ends without ceremony. There is no dramatic moment, no sudden realization, just the quiet sense that neither of them is quite ready for the night to be over. Outside, the rain has slowed to a fine mist, coating the sidewalk in a soft sheen. She pulls her jacket tighter around herself as they step out together, the cool air brushing against her cheeks. "I parked a few blocks away," she says. "I usually walk. It helps me think." He nods. "I do not mind walking." They move side by side, not quite touching, their steps falling into an easy rhythm. The city hums around them, distant traffic, muted laughter from a nearby bar, the occasional splash of tires on wet pavement. For a moment, neither of them speaks. Then she breaks the silence. "I know this might sound strange," she says, glancing at him, "but tonight felt different." "How so?" he asks. She thinks about it. "Usually, when I meet someone new, I feel like I am performing, like I have to be more than I am. Tonight, I did not feel that." The words settle between them, honest and unpolished. He feels something shift again, that same quiet pull from earlier, growing stronger. In his world, people are always performing, even when they claim they are not. They stop beneath a streetlight. She reaches into her bag, hesitates, then pulls out a worn sketchbook. The cover is soft from use, the edges slightly bent. "I do not usually show this to anyone," she says. "But since we were talking about dreams," she opens it carefully. Inside are sketches of faces, hands, city corners, cafes imagined into existence, a small storefront with wide windows and handwritten signs, notes scribbled in the margins, crossed out, rewritten. "This is what I want someday," she says quietly. "Nothing big, just real." He studies the pages, not rushing. He recognizes something immediately, not the art itself, but the discipline behind it, the hours, the commitment, the courage it takes to keep creating when no one is watching. "You are talented," he says simply. She looks up, surprised, not because of the compliment, but because he sounds certain. "Thank you," she says. "Most people tell me it is a nice hobby." "That is not what this is," he replies. "This matters to you." She smiles, a small, genuine smile that lingers longer than the others. They walk on, the sketchbook tucked safely back into her bag. The moment stays with him. The weight of it, the trust. At the corner where their paths split, she stops. "I had a good time tonight," she says. "I did not expect that." "Neither did I," he admits. She hesitates again, then adds, "If you want, maybe we could get coffee sometime. Something simple." He does not hesitate this time. "I would like that." They exchange numbers. Her name lights up on his phone, ordinary and grounding in a way that surprises him. As she walks away, he watches until she disappears into the crowd. He stands there longer than necessary, rain settling on his shoulders, his mind replaying the sound of her voice, the look on her face when she talked about that little studio that does not exist yet. In his pocket, his phone vibrates. A reminder. A meeting he is late for. A world waiting for him to return. He silences it. For the first time in a long time, something else feels more important. And somewhere inside him, a quiet truth begins to take shape. This was not just a pleasant evening. This was the beginning of something that will ask more of him than he expects. And the smallest detail of all, the sketchbook she almost did not show him, will matter more than either of them realizes yet. A few days pass before they see each other again. Life pulls her back into its usual rhythm. Early shifts, late nights, the familiar ache in her feet and the quiet calculations in her head as she moves through each day. But something has changed. Something small, almost unnoticeable at first. She checks her phone more often. When his message finally comes, it is simple. "Coffee tomorrow morning?" She stares at the screen longer than she should, then types back, "Yes, there is a place near my apartment. Nothing fancy." "I like nothing fancy," he replies. The cafe sits on a corner she passes every day but rarely enters. It smells like roasted beans and warm pastries. The chairs do not match. The tables wobble slightly if you lean on them too hard. It is the kind of place where people linger without meaning to. She arrives first, choosing a small table near the window. She smooths her hands over her jeans, suddenly aware that this feels different from the dinner, less like an event, more like real life. When he walks in, he looks almost out of place at first. No jacket this time, just a simple sweater. He scans the room, spots her, and smiles. "Hi," he says, sliding into the chair across from her. "I hope this is okay." "It is perfect," she replies, and she means it. They order coffee. She knows exactly what she can afford without checking the prices. He lets her order first this time, watching quietly. The conversation starts easily, picking up where it left off. She tells him about her morning routine, how she wakes up before the sun, how she sketches for 15 minutes every day, no matter how tired she is. "It keeps me grounded," she explains. "Like I am doing something just for myself." He nods. "I do not have anything like that." She looks at him, curious. "Nothing?" "Not really," he admits. "Most of my days belong to other people." The honesty surprises him as much as it surprises her. They talk about small things, favorite neighborhoods, the comfort of walking familiar streets, the quiet satisfaction of knowing where you belong. There is no pressure to impress, no sense of time slipping away. At one point, her phone buzzes. She glances at it and sighs softly. "Everything okay?" he asks. "Yeah," she says, slipping the phone back into her bag. "Just life reminding me it exists." He does not push. Outside, people pass by the window, carrying their own worries, their own plans. Inside, the cafe feels like a pause, a moment carved out of the day that belongs only to them. When it is time to leave, neither of them rushes. "I am glad we did this," she says as they stand. "It feels easy." "It does," he agrees. As they step outside, the air is crisp, the sky clear. He hesitates, then speaks. "I should be honest about something," he says. Her heart stutters, just slightly. "Yes?" He searches for the right words. "I am not very good at this, at showing up without an agenda." She smiles gently. "Neither am I. That might be the point." They part ways with no promises, no labels, just the quiet understanding that this will not be the last time. As she walks home, coffee warmth still in her hands, she realizes something. She is not thinking about who he might be. She is thinking about how she feels when she is with him, and that, more than anything, is what makes what comes next so dangerous. Their meetings begin to settle into a quiet rhythm. Nothing dramatic, nothing planned too far in advance, just moments that slip naturally into each other, filling the spaces between her shifts and his increasingly rearranged schedule. Sometimes it is coffee after work. Other times it is a walk through a small park near her apartment, where the grass is uneven and the benches are chipped with age. Once, they share a late slice of pizza standing on the sidewalk because neither of them feels like sitting down. These moments are simple. That is what makes them dangerous. She shows him the neighborhood where she grew up, the corner store that still remembers her name, the laundromat where she sketches while her clothes tumble behind glass. He listens, asking questions that are never intrusive, never dismissive. She does not know that on those same days, he steps out of meetings with people who speak in millions and deadlines. She does not know that his phone lights up constantly with requests he ignores just a little longer each time. What she sees is the man who laughs quietly when she teases him about his unfamiliarity with public buses. The man who holds doors without thinking. The man who sits beside her on a cracked concrete step, completely unbothered by where he is. One evening, after a long shift, she invites him inside her apartment. It is small, she warns, unlocking the door. "I hope that is okay." "It is more than okay," he says. The space is modest. A narrow living room, a couch that has seen better days. Her sketchbook sits open on the coffee table, charcoal smudges still fresh on the page. There is no attempt to hide anything. She makes tea in mismatched mugs while he looks around, taking it all in, not judging, not comparing, just observing. "This feels like you," he says. She pauses, mug in hand. "Is that a good thing?" "It is the best thing," he replies. They sit close, knees almost touching, talking about nothing and everything. Childhood memories, favorite seasons, the strange comfort of routines. When she talks about her fears, she keeps them vague. When he talks about his life, he keeps his even vaguer. There are gaps in his stories. She notices them, but she does not push. Trust grows quietly, the way it always does, not through grand gestures, but through consistency, through showing up. And then there are moments that remind him of the distance between their worlds. She checks her bank account before suggesting dinner. She apologizes when plans have to change because her manager calls her in last minute. She says things like, "Maybe next month," without realizing how often she says it. Each time, something tightens in his chest. He wants to fix things, to make life easier, to lift the weight from her shoulders. He does nothing, because he knows that the moment money enters the room, everything changes. One night, as they walk beneath a row of streetlights, she slips her hand into his without thinking. The gesture is small, unconscious, but it sends a shock through him. She looks up, suddenly aware of what she has done. "Sorry," she says quickly. "I did not mean to assume." He squeezes her hand gently. "Do not apologize." She smiles, and for the first time, he realizes how deeply he is already in this. She is falling for the man she believes he is, and he is falling for her in a way that leaves no room for half-truths. The line between their lives grows thinner with every shared moment, and soon it will snap. The invitation arrives on a quiet afternoon. She is sitting at her small kitchen table, sketchbook open, pencil resting between her fingers, when her phone lights up with his name. She smiles before she even reads the message. "There is an event this Friday night. Would you come with me?" She reads it twice. "What kind of event?" She types back. "A charity gala," he replies. "I understand if it is not your thing." Her first instinct is to say no. The word gala alone makes her think of rooms she does not belong in, dresses that cost more than her monthly rent, people who can spot insecurity from across the room. "I do not really have anything to wear," she finally writes. A pause. Then his response, "Come as you are. I would really like you there." Friday comes faster than she expects. She stands in front of her mirror that evening, smoothing down the only dress she owns that feels even slightly appropriate. It is simple, clean, nothing that will draw attention. Her stomach twists as she steps out of her apartment, locking the door behind her. When he meets her outside, he looks different. Not unrecognizable, just sharper. A tailored suit, polished shoes, the same calm expression, but wrapped in something more formal, something controlled. "You look beautiful," he says, sincerely. She smiles, nerves buzzing beneath her skin. "You look fancy." He chuckles softly. "It is just a suit." The venue is downtown, a restored historic building glowing with light. Cars line the street, valets move with practiced ease. As they step inside, the air changes. Everything feels louder, brighter. She grips his arm without realizing it. "Hey," he murmurs. "You are okay." "I day." Inside, the room is filled with people dressed in confidence and silk. Conversations float past her, words like foundations, investments, endowments. She feels suddenly small. Then the lights dim slightly. A voice echoes through the room, clear and commanding. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. Please join me in welcoming the guest of honor and lead donor for this year's initiative." Her heart stutters. She turns her head slowly, following the direction of the applause. The name is spoken next. His name. The man beside her straightens. He releases her arm and walks forward. For a moment, she does not understand what she is seeing. Her mind searches for an explanation that does not exist. Applause rises around her, filling the space where her thoughts should be. She watches as he steps onto the stage, the light settling on him as if they have always belonged there. "This cannot be happening," she whispers. On stage, he speaks with ease, confidence woven into every word. He thanks donors, talks about impact, about leadership, about responsibility. This is not a man who works in technology. This is a man who owns the room. The truth crashes into her all at once. The dinners, the walks, the careful answers, the gaps in his stories. He finishes his speech to thunderous applause. From the stage, his eyes find hers. For just a second, the room disappears. Then she turns and walks away. He finds her in the hallway outside the ballroom. The noise fades behind them, replaced by the echo of her breathing. "You should have told me," she says, her voice steady in a way that surprises even her. "I wanted to," he replies quietly. "I did not know how." She laughs once, sharp and disbelieving. "You did not know how to tell me you are a millionaire? It was not about the money," he says. "It was about you." With zest, she shakes her head. "Do you know how foolish I feel right now? That was never my intention. But it is the result," she says. "Every moment we shared, I thought it was real. I thought you chose me without all of this." "I did," he insists. "That part was real." She looks at him, really looks at him, and realizes how much this hurts. "I need some air," she says. She walks away before he can stop her. Behind her, the gala continues, but the mistake that brought them together has finally revealed its cost. She does not sleep that night. Back in her apartment, she sits on the edge of the couch, still wearing the same dress, shoes kicked off near the door. The city outside her window moves on as usual, but inside, everything feels suspended, like the air has not quite settled yet. Her phone buzzes once. Then again, she does not look at it. Her mind replays the moment over and over. The applause, his name spoken into a microphone. The way he walked away from her without turning back. Not because he did not care, but because he belonged to that world in a way she never would. She had believed the version of him that walked beside her on cracked sidewalks. The man who drank cheap coffee and listened while she talked about dreams that felt too fragile to say out loud. That man was real, but he was not the whole truth. The next morning, she goes to work on autopilot. She smiles at customers. She refills coffee cups. She moves through the motions with practiced ease, even as something heavy settles in her chest. During her break, she finally checks her phone. There are messages from him. Not frantic, not dramatic, just steady. "I am sorry. I never meant to hurt you. Please let me explain." She locks the phone and slips it back into her apron. Explaining feels like the wrong word. Nothing he says will change what she felt standing in that ballroom, realizing she had fallen for someone who never fully stepped into her world. That evening, there is a knock at her door. She freezes. For a moment, she considers pretending she is not home. But she already knows who it is. When she opens the door, he stands there. No suit this time. Just the man she recognizes. The man she is angry with. "I should not be here," he says quietly. "But I could not stay away." "Oh." She steps aside, letting him in without a word. They stand across from each other in her small living room, the silence thick between them. "You lied to me," she says finally. "I withheld the truth," he replies. "There is a difference." Her laugh is bitter. "Is there?" "Because it feels the same on my end." He nods. "I know." He does not try to defend himself. He does not talk about his reasons yet. He waits. "I never cared about money," she continues. "You know that, right?" "I do," he says. "Then why did you not trust me with the truth?" she asks, her voice cracking just slightly. "Why let me believe you were someone else?" "Because when people know who I am, he says slowly. Everything changes. Conversations shift. Expectations appear. I wanted one place where I could just be. Me. She looks at him. And you decided for me that I could not handle the truth. The words, land. Yes, he admits. And that was wrong. Una verito. She turns away, pacing the room. Her hands tremble as she presses them together. I felt safe with you, she says. I let myself believe in something simple. Something equal. He steps closer, but does not touch her. What we had was real, he says. Every laugh, every walk, every moment. But it was built on something missing, she replies. And I do not know how to trust what comes next. The truth settles between them. This is not a fight that can be won with words. I need space, she says finally. I need to know who I am without wondering where I fit in your world. He swallows. If that is what you need, I will respect it. He moves toward the door, then stops. For what it is worth, he says. Meeting you changed me. She does not answer. When the door closes behind him, the room feels quieter than before. The mistake that brought them together has finally pulled them apart, and neither of them knows if love can survive the truth that now stands between them. Days pass, then weeks. She throws herself into work, into routine, into the safety of exhaustion. Early mornings, late shifts. She fills her time with motion so she does not have to sit still long enough to miss him. At night, she sketches, not carefully, not with intention, just lines and shapes that spill onto the page. Half-finished storefronts, windows flooded with light, a place that feels like home to people who do not feel like they belong anywhere else. She tells herself it is coincidence. One afternoon, her phone buzzes while she is cleaning a table at work. A message from an unfamiliar number. There is something I would like you to see. No pressure, no expectations, just honesty. She knows it is him before the second message arrives. It is about your art. Her first instinct is to ignore it, but curiosity has always been her weakness. The address he sends is not downtown. It is an old industrial building on the edge of the arts district, the kind she has passed dozens of times without ever imagining she would go inside. When she arrives, the door is already open. Inside, the space is quiet, white walls, soft lighting, music playing low in the background. She takes a cautious step forward, then another. Her breath catches. The walls are lined with artwork. Her artwork. Sketches she recognizes immediately. Pages she once showed him under a streetlight, thinking they were just dreams spoken out loud. Her storefront design is there, fully realized. Wide windows, handwritten signs recreated in careful detail. A plaque beneath the first piece reads, "The Art of Becoming." Her heart pounds. He steps out from the side of the room, hands clasped in front of him. No suit, no audience, no distance. I did not do this to win you back, he says softly. I did it because I promised myself I would never hide again. She turns to face him, overwhelmed. What is this? A gallery, he replies. For you, if you want it. Fully yours. No conditions. No contracts tied to me. She shakes her head, emotion rising fast. You cannot just fix this with money. I know, he says. That is why this is not about money. He gestures around them. Every decision here was made with your permission in mind, your vision, your name. If you walk away tonight, this place still opens. Because it was never about me. She looks back at the walls, at the proof of how carefully he listened when she thought no one was paying attention. You could have told me the truth from the beginning, she says quietly. Yes, he agrees. And I am sorry that I did not. He meets her eyes, steady and unguarded. I am telling it now. All of it. I am a millionaire. I always was. And I fell in love with you when I was pretending to be less. Because with you, I did not feel like I needed to be more. The words settle slowly. This is me choosing honesty, he continues. Even if it costs me everything. She takes a step closer, then stops. "I need to know something," she says. "If I say no, if I walk away, will you still respect that?" He nods without hesitation. Yes. She studies his face, searching for the certainty she once felt. She finds it not in his wealth, not in the room around them, but in the way he waits without pressure. Finally, she exhales. "I am not saying yes," she says. "Not yet." Hope flickers, then steadies in his eyes. "But," she adds, "this is the first time since that night that I feel like you are standing in the same place I am." She reaches out, not to take his hand, but to touch the wall beside her, grounding herself in what is real. "Let us start with the truth," she says. He smiles, soft and grateful, and for the first time since the mistake that brought them together, the future feels open again. The gallery opens on a quiet Saturday morning. There is no red carpet, no press. Just sunlight pouring through the wide windows she once sketched in the margins of her notebook. People wander in slowly, curious, drawn by the warmth of the space more than the name on the door. She stands near the entrance, nervous in a way she has not felt in a long time. This is hers. Her work lines the walls. Sketches that once lived only in her apartment. Stories of ordinary people, familiar streets, small moments that matter. Visitors stop, lean closer, smile softly. Some stay longer than they planned. He watches from a distance, careful not to take up too much space. He does not introduce himself as anything more than a supporter. This day is not about him. When their eyes meet, there is no pressure in his expression, just pride. Later, when the crowd thins, she walks over to him. "Thank you for respecting what I asked for," she says. "For letting this be mine." He nods. "It always was." They step outside together, standing on the sidewalk where the city moves at its usual pace. Nothing has changed out there. Everything has changed between them. "I thought a lot about us," she says, "about what hurt and what mattered." He waits. "I realized I did not fall for your money," she continues. "I fell for the way you showed up when I thought you were just a man walking beside me. And I fell for you," he says quietly, "because you never asked me to be anything other than honest." She takes a breath. "I cannot promise this will be easy," she says. "Our worlds are still different." "I know," he replies. "But I am done hiding." She studies him, then reaches into her bag and pulls out her sketchbook, the same one she almost did not show him. She flips to a blank page and hands it to him. "Then start here," she says. "With me. With the truth." He smiles, deeply, and takes her hand. Months later, the gallery becomes a place people return to, not because it is funded well, but because it feels real. She teaches classes there. She draws every morning. She builds the life she once only imagined. And he walks beside her, not ahead, not behind. Their story does not begin with perfection. It begins with a mistake, and it ends with a choice. To love openly, to live honestly, and to believe that sometimes the wrong person at the wrong moment can become the right one for a lifetime.